Oh man, we were just discussing how Rachel Zegler had changed her tune for that Variety interview and that how all the damage had already been done on Snow White and how Disney was going to be trying to turn a new leaf when it came to public relations. And given the fact that they have an additional year to go ahead and, put the final polishes on this turd for the Snow White live action remake, and they might not have found a replacement for Rachel Zegler, but they found a way to mitigate her impact on the story because she is just such a box office darling. Tell me, Hunger Games fans, how well did that film ultimately end up performing? Oh, it still lost money. Fantastic stuff. Disney moving to trim Rachel Zegler's Snow White screen time with new childhood subplot. It's interesting. So how many additional helpers are they going to need on this Snow White story? Because you've got the 7 Portland baristas. You've got the 7 dwarfs. Now you're going to be throwing in a subplot as well. You've got Gal Gadot's fairest queen. She's not going to be saved by the prince. Okay, so I guess because you have all of that additional time that is cut out by the prince, I guess you have time for a childhood subplot. This thing is gonna suck. But to be fair, it is only a rumor right now, but come on now, anything that a studio can do to mitigate the disaster that is Rachel Zegler, they're going to be taking it. According to the latest whistles on the digital streets and hoping to undo at least some of the damage done by star Rachel Zegler's. No. Like her career and her about face, especially in that Variety interview, it probably saved a little bit of longevity on her career, but I haven't really seen her book any future gigs or anything like that. But, hey. What's 5 consecutive duds at the box office ever done to hinder somebody's career, right? West Side Story, Shazam 2, Hunger Games. Oh, don't worry about the rest of that. No, of course, it's all going to be fine. Disney is currently moving to trim her Snow White screen time by adding a new subplot focused specifically on the titular princess's childhood. Interesting. I don't know why you necessarily need that, but maybe that's more true and honest and accurate to the original Snow White tale. Maybe it's something that we were going to see from the Daily Wire interpretation. This rumor was first raised to the public on January 23rd, courtesy of rising entertainment industry commentator and that Park Place editor WDW Pro. Yeah, man, shout out to them. I've seen them pop up around my YouTube recommendations a whole hell of a lot. Okay, shout out to them for doing exceptionally good work. Per information first relayed by him and an alleged insider source, in the light of Zegler's star fading among audiences thanks to her aforementioned meltdown in 2023, if it wasn't for Dylan Mulvaney, she would have had the public destruction of a company, of trashing every aspect of Disney's original animated take on Snow White. The House of Mouse is presently working to soften the public's perception of the princess's live-action incarnation. Oh, how wonderful. However, rather than do so by reshooting the film with a new actress or having Zegler attempt to portray a more traditional version of the princess. No. They've still got a script. And who wrote that script, by the way? Oh, that would be Academy Award nominated screenwriter Greta Gerwig. Oh, we couldn't ask her to come back and do any rewrites. No, of course not. She's a star. I hope she gets the requisite amount of crap when this thing ultimately comes out in theaters. The former being considered unfeasible due to the costs. Yeah, because this thing is already over $200 million, and then you have an additional year's delay and a bunch of reshoots and completions over the top of it. Like, come on, man. And because audiences would rightly find such a heel turn too unbelievable. Yeah, and then recasting somebody who's so publicly attached to this, like it's either going to be looked at as like, wow, yeah, this thing's going to be a dumpster fire. Like, nobody's going to see a recasting for Snow White as any sort of a course correction, as any sort of a mea culpa. They're just simply going to look at that as going, wow, well, okay, well, if all the damage was already done by Rachel Zegler, how terrible is this film ultimately? With a new story beat centered on her younger self and brought to life by a completely separate actress. Interesting. Okay, so trying to run with what the Godfather 2 type approach, it's not going to be nearly as good. Come on now. To this end, as relayed by WDW Pro, Disney has hired a young actress to play Snow White as a child. The idea is to cut time out of Zegler's performance, show Snow White as a cute little kid, and soften the character with flashbacks and/or a major origin story portion at the beginning of the film. That's interesting, but at the end of the day, this is still Disney, still written by Greta Gerwig, So it's just going to be another girl boss origin story. Like, it's not going to be great. Sure, it could be a cute little kid. And we know that Disney definitely has a predilection for those, but just not like portraying their upbringing is anything great. But this isn't going to make the film any better. This isn't going to soften Rachel Zegler. This is just simply going to add more problems to the overall production of the film, but okay. He further recapped his sources' information. Of course, edits have not begun on the scenes, as we believe they're not shot yet, so things could change. Well, yeah, exactly. The film isn't completed. That's the thing. It was supposed to be coming out in a couple months' time. Originally, it was scheduled for a March 2024 release. So yeah, it should have been on the doorstep, but because of the strikes, the actors and the writer strikes, it ended up pushing it off for an additional year because they wanted that springtime release. Because what's one of the central themes of Snow White? Rebirth through spring. Well, yes, of course, after a long winter's nap, Snow White returns to us anew. Saved by the kiss of true love, but that's still getting worked out in the reshoots, what they're going to be doing with the live-action remake. But yeah, a vast majority of this film wasn't done yet, and the reshoots, as we know, the Disney, latter-day Disney, are still quite extensive, and they still had a lot to go on this. So yeah, if they're going to be adding in another storyline, it's not going to be too dissimilar to the rest of their projects that are out there. As of writing, and unsurprisingly, given its explicit description by the YouTuber himself as a rumor, WDW Pro scoops remains uncorroborated by official sources. Yeah, something that we'll probably never know. I'd imagine that they'd probably try to smuggle this in through the back door, just, front and center. No, we're standing by our queen, Rachel Zegler. But then half an hour of the runtime is dedicated to this childhood subplot that has nothing to do with Rachel. Don't worry about it. But in an interesting twist, just days before WDW Pro broke the story, Disney-centric news outlet, the Diz Insider, published a report claiming that the film had just cast the 10-year-old Coda star Emilia Faucher to portray the child-aged princess. Interesting. Should the rumor pan out, it would stand as the latest change in the animated original and a jump to live action. As previously reported, the film will make such further deviations from the source material, as in addition to new character Jonathan as portrayed by We Crashed actor Andrew Burnap, and the Queen as portrayed by Wonder Woman star Gal Gadot, Kal-El, received her own song and dance numbers. Oh my, she can barely act. She might be able to dance, but to get her to sing? Like, what are we doing? This is going to be so bad. Notably, like the preceding rumor, Faucher's casting as a child-aged Snow White has yet to be confirmed by Disney or any parties related to the film's production. Ultimately, whether or not this either report holds any weight, and if so, whether the admittedly adorable Faucher's presence will be in the film was enough to incite any audience members into handing cash over to yet another of the mouse's soulless cash grabs, will be determined as Disney releases more information in the lead up to Snow White's March 21st, 2025 release date. But okay, so this is the chick that they got to portray the younger Rachel Zegler. Okay, so what? Okay, the skin tone fits, I guess. Okay, and frankly, I don't really want to watch a little child's talent show, but the aesthetics fit. The aesthetics definitely fit. So yeah, I could see it, and I understand that it's a different Disney property, but well, if the glass slipper fits, I could see less screen time for Rachel Zegler, and well, she could definitely use all the help that she can get, even though she's been far more amenable in front of the camera, just really saying, yeah, guys, I just, all of that hate that you get on the internet, you just gotta take it in stride, because those people, they work a very hard job, and I pretend in front of the camera for a living, and they'll never know the difficulty that us famous people face. So good for her for trying to come back down to reality, but then also showing just how malleable these idiots in Hollywood truly are. You'll love to see it. The more arrogant they get, the more time they spent in front of the camera, the easier it is to just point and laugh at their, active stupidity, and then also their contradictive nature, because they don't actually hold any of those positions at heart. They're just repeating lines from their corporate overlords in order to keep a job at the end of the day. They don't believe any of this stuff, from their political positions to anything else that they spout on social media. These are all fed spots, okay? They don't have Like, celebrities have always been dim. Just go back and listen. Okay, even back in the 70s, back on the old Dick Cavett show, or even back when Johnny Carson was hosting The Tonight Show. Listen to an actor's interview. These have always just been vapid idiots. If you want a real 2024 take on what celebrities are really like without their handle or talking points, listen to a professional athlete give an interview. Full 60 minutes on both ends of the ice. 4 quarters of the game. We just got to give 110% out there. That's your standard actor. Maybe with a little bit less sweat, a little bit more makeup. But then again, I thought we weren't talking about what they have to wear to the casting sessions. We're just talking about what they're having to portray in front of the camera during an interview. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.